Welcome to this session. In this session, we are going to discuss about the operating system and introduction about the operating system. First of all, what is operating system? How it does help for us, and what are all the main rules of the operating system? These are the things we are going to discuss under the session. First, what is operating system? So often we are just saying that the OS, right? So how it is working for us? Um, User, you know very well as a human, so we are the user, and the computers are there. So the hardware parts, printer is there, monitors, CPUs, all the hardwares are available. So we want to tell something to someone, right? So it's a communication. So generally, we can take some real-time example. Uh, I know Tamil, that's my mother tongue. Other than this, I don't know any other languages. So similarly, another one person is there. He knows only Hindi. Other than that, he doesn't know any other languages. But I want to communicate with him. He want to communicate with me. So both of them doesn't aware of their own languages. So how we will communicate? So we are just need some help of some intermediator. So I'll just tell this information. Please communicate with him. So similarly, what he is communicating, so that it will be converted, and then he is again giving the information to me. So I'm just need the help of some intermediator to transact our communications. The same thing applying here. Here user, we know some languages and hardwares are there, monitor, CPU, all other computer hardwares. So we doesn't know how to communicate with them. Okay, so the hardwares can't able to understand human languages. So human doesn't know the hardware languages. So similarly, we need the help from others. So who is the helper for us here? That is nothing but operating system. The operating system is helping us to act as an intermediator to communicate with the human and then hardware of the computers. So simply we can say it acts as an intermediator or interface between the user of the computer and the computer hardwares. So what are the main goals of the operating systems? So mainly there are four goals. The first thing, we are just control, or otherwise we can say execute the user or application programs. So user side. And second thing, it making the computer system to convenient to use. So it is making the systems making as a convenient use. And third thing, it is help us to solving the user problems, and then it uses the computer hardware in an efficient manner. So these are all the most primary goals of the operating systems. And then also the operating system is working as a resource allocator. So what is a resource allocator? So we have the n number of the resources. For example, if we are just taking the storage. So storage is each and every files how much storage is going to be allotted. For example, the printer is there. So if any one process is working on, so the fine printers, so how the printer is going to be divided to the particular process. So like that, what are all the resources we having? We have to divide it and then allocate to the some other persons, right? So that is the allocation. So the resource allocation, it's mainly managed by the operating system. So it is manage all the resources. So it is decided between the conflicting the request for the efficient and then fair resource use. So whatever the process is giving the request, it won't give as it is. So based on the availability and their need, so whether we can allot it or not, if we are just allotting the further we can proceed smoothly or not, everything we need to check it properly so that it will be handled by the operating system. And next important thing, so operating system is a control program. So what is the kind of the controlling the program? It executes whenever the executing the programs, so need to control without error, and we have to execute the smooth execution, right? So it controls the execution of the program to preventing the errors and improper usage of the computer. So anyone that's doing some improper activities or whatever it is, so everything is comes under the controlling the program. So these two things is the one of the most important work for the operating system. So where the operating system is residing? So simply we will just saying uh, two different parts, right? Hardware parts and then software parts. The hardware parts we know very well. So all the resources, the printers, the hard drives, memories, the storage, everything is considering as a hardware parts. And software parts it's mainly includes, so who's the user is directly involving, web browsers, email readers, music players, etc., etc. All the UI programs, user interface programs, till that it comes under the software we know. So operating system is also called as a software only, right? So again, the software part is dividing as a two different mode. The mode first one is the user mode. So overall the user directly involved under the UI, so that is called as a user mode. Then operating system, it is also the software, but it is called as a kernel mode. So the system mode. So what are all the system is going to be execute something. That operation is considered the system mode or kernel mode. So if you are performing some operation, user giving the request, so that it is going to be directly communicated with the operation. At the time the mode change is going to be happen from the user mode to it is changing to the kernel mode, and then kernel performing some operations. The based on that, after the result again it is transferred to the user mode. So the mode shifting whenever we are happening, that is going to be happen. So for that indication, if we are just seeing this diagram, we can easily understand. So this is a user process and then kernel process. So kernel is a system core worker. So user executing something, and during the execution we are just initiating the system calls. So what is a system call means? It's just like as a function call. So how we are just working the function call. For example, we are just writing some functions. The core part is there in a somewhere else. So whenever we are just read it, we are just giving only the call. So after the calling, where the definition is there, the program is going to there and then working something, and then again it is written back. The same here, the system call is, so what are all the operations are going to be handled by the system. So that is under the kernel mode. So whenever the user need that, we are just initiating the call alone. So what are all the system calls are available, how it is working. So later we will be discussing the further topics. Now once the user is initiating the system call, so that is going to be transferred through the mode bit. So mode bit is helping us to indicate whether the program is working under the user mode or otherwise the kernel mode. So the mode bits, it's indicating in a two different values. So one is a 0, another was 1. So if the user mode means the mode bit value is 1, the kernel mode means the mode bit value equal to 0. So now if you are initiating the system call, the mode bit value is set as a 0, then it is executing the system call. What is the call is initiated, according to that it will execute, and after completing that again the mode bit is, the result is going to be returned back to the user mode. So mode bit set to the 1 and then the result is sent to the user mode. So like that the operating systems are working there. So it's called as generally it's a dual mode operation. So operating system allows to protect itself and other some system components. Like this the dual mode operations are working. So that is called as the user mode and kernel mode. So this will be providing by the mode bit. Okay, so under this mode bit, so now we explain in this diagram, right? So that is a distinction between the whether it is a user mode or otherwise a kernel mode. So for the identification, we are just using the mode bit. So some instructions it is designated to the privileges, so only it is executed in the kernel mode alone. So for that purpose we are just setting like that. So the next thing is, what are all the services provided by the operating system? So mainly the four different services. The first one is facilities for the program creation. So whenever we are just creating the program, so what are all the facilities is needed? Editing, compiling, linking, debugging, all these things that will be executed. And next one, after the program creation, programmers need to execute. So program execution. For the program execution, memory is needed. So loading in memory and then IO files initialization, all these things will be taken care. And then next one, accessing to the IO and then files. So it is dealing with the specific IO and then file formats, all these things it will be taken. And then finally the system access, resource contentions, it is resolving some conflicts for some resource contention. It is providing the access for protection controls to the resources as well as our data. So all these things will be taken care by the operating system. Thank you.